He called me immediately. His voice was no longer irritated. It was pure panic and fury. "What did you do?" he yelled into the phone, the sound distorted with rage. I was sitting on the balcony of my new tiny rented apartment, looking at the sun. "I did what was necessary," I answered, my voice steady. "This is all mine. I built this. You have no right." A small smile formed on my lips. "You used my life as your foundation, Mark. You forgot that the ground you built your empire on was also mine. I'm just reclaiming my half. I will destroy you," he threatened, his voice cracking. I took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill my lungs. The air of freedom. "You can't destroy nothing, remember? You said so yourself." I paused. "But now I am someone you will never forget." And with a tranquility I never knew I possessed, I ended the call. The silence that followed was the most beautiful symphony I had ever heard. Today, my life doesn't have the shine it had before, but it has something infinitely more valuable. It has truth. I learned that self-worth is not something someone gives you or takes away. It is a universal constant within you. Sometimes you just need to remove the people and illusions that prevent you from seeing it. I learned that financial transparency in a relationship is not a detail. It is a pillar. Trust without proof is just blind faith. And above all, I learned that self-love is not a fleeting feeling. It is an action. It is the action of saying no. It is the action of seeking help. It is the action of protecting your future, even when your present is in ruins. Every person who has ever been told they meant nothing, who has been made to feel small, invisible, or convenient, I say this, the story does not end with their words. It begins with your response. Nothingness is not an end. It is a beginning. It is the empty, fertile space where you can finally plant yourself and grow. This journey was about rebuilding. If you have ever used your pain to build a stronger version of yourself, I want to honor your strength. Comment below. I am my own foundation. Like this video if this story resonated with you, and subscribe for more stories of rebirth and strength. With a steady hand, the pen in my hand seemed to hold the weight of a decade, not of love, but of an illusion I had built with the same devotion a craftsman weaves a tapestry, never realizing the threads were already rotten. Each curve of my name on the dotted line was not a signature. It was an epitaph. The end of a woman I no longer recognized and the birth of another, forged in the fire of the coldest truth. His words, spoken in a room that was once our sanctuary, were no longer an echo of pain. They were the silent fuel that moved my hand. "You never meant anything," he said, and I, in silence, promised myself that I would make that nothing the foundation of everything. This is the story of how the attempt to erase me from his world became the reason he will never be able to forget me. If you believe in the power of turning pain into strength, please like this video and join me on this journey. You will see that ashes are not always an end. Our story began in a way that seemed straight out of a movie. In a small coffee shop in the city, with the smell of rain and fresh brewed coffee, Mark had the most captivating smile I had ever seen, and a way of looking at me that made me believe I was the only person in the universe. I, at 25 and with an unshakable faith in love, gave myself completely. I was the kind of woman who believed that loving was giving your all, without reservation, without asking for anything in return. My worth, my joy, my very sense of self was all invested in him. I became a mirror, reflecting his dreams, his ambitions, his needs, until my own image became blurry, almost invisible. We built a life that, to the world, was the very definition of success. A stunning house in an exclusive neighborhood, trips to Europe, dinners at trendy restaurants where he told stories and I smiled, the trophy wife, the silent partner. He was the financial brain, the visionary. "Don't worry about the details, my love," he would say, turning his computer screen away whenever I got close. "I take care of us." And I believed him, because the alternative was too terrifying to contemplate. Today, I know that when you love someone more than you love yourself, you are not loving. You are losing yourself. And I lost myself so completely that I didn't realize the castle he was building had dungeons, and one of them was reserved for me. Intuition is a subtle language. It doesn't scream. It whispers. and mine had been whispering for a long time. It started with little things, cracks in the perfect facade I refused to see. He changed our online banking password, claiming a new security policy from the bank. Then, he got a second cell phone. Just for work, he said, with a rehearsed naturalness. I would see the screen quickly go dark when I walked into the office, or hear conversations that turned into hurried whispers. And each time, I chose denial. I chose to believe the excuse, the justification, because the truth threatened to demolish the only world I knew. I remember one day, a lazy Sunday afternoon. I was in the kitchen making coffee, and my favorite mug, one he gave me on our first trip to Paris, slipped from my hand and broke on the floor. A thin, almost imperceptible crack ran across the image of the Eiffel Tower. I glued it back together with meticulous care, but the mark was there. That night, he came home with an extravagant gift, a diamond necklace. For my queen, he said, kissing my neck, and as the cold of the stones touched my skin, I ignored the chill in my spine. That necklace was not a gift. It was a silencer, an advance payment for my complicity in my own blindness. Intuition is rarely wrong. What is wrong is our desperate need to be right about the people we love. The discovery, when it came, wasn't a loud bang. It was a click, the click of a mouse. On a rainy gray Tuesday, Mark was on one of his business trips. I was looking for an old car insurance document, navigating the labyrinthine folders on our shared computer. And then I saw it. A folder with a discreet name. Personal assets. Curiosity. That treacherous force one. I clicked, and my world, which was already cracked, shattered into a million pieces. The truth I was about to uncover was devastating. If stories of empowerment like this inspire you to find your own strength, subscribe so you don't miss a single one. It wasn't emails from a lover. It wasn't compromising photos. It was something much colder, more calculated. It was spreadsheets, PDF documents from a bank I had never heard of, performance charts for stocks, investment bonds, real estate funds. And then the column that stole the air from my lungs, the transfers column. Dates. Dozens of dates I recognized. The day of our 10th anniversary. The day we sold my old apartment to make a down payment on our house. The day I received my grandmother's inheritance. There were systematic withdrawals, massive transfers from our joint account to this secret account, in his name only. He wasn't just cheating on me. He was stripping me bare, piece by piece, in silence, while telling me he loved me. The sound of the key in the door made me jump. He had arrived early. I didn't move a muscle. I just sat there, in the leather office chair, the glow of the monitor illuminating the silent tears on my face and the spreadsheets that were the proof of my financial non-existence. He walked in, smiling. "Honey, I'm Ho." His voice died when he saw me. When he saw the screen, the smile vanished, replaced by a mask of irritation. "What are you doing?" His voice was harsh. "That's private." I looked up, and for the first time, he didn't see the woman who adored him. He saw a stranger. "What is this, Mark?" My voice was a thread, fragile but unbreakable. He tried to play the anger card. "Are you snooping through my things? After everything I do for you? Everything you do for me?" I pointed at the screen. "You call this taking care of me? You were stealing from me." He laughed. A short, cruel laugh, devoid of any humor. It was in that moment that the man I loved died before my eyes. He walked over to the desk, leaning his hands on it, his face inches from mine. The smell of his expensive cologne, which once comforted me, now suffocated me. "Stealing." He spat. "The word, darling. You're so naive. I built this. I made the money. You were just here." The tears I had been holding back finally fell. "We built this. It was ours. We were a team." And then he leaned in, and with a coldness that burned hotter than any fire, he delivered the sentence. The sentence he thought would destroy me, but which, ironically, set me free. "Team? Don't be ridiculous." He looked deep into my eyes, and I saw an abyssal emptiness. "Why are you so surprised? You never meant anything. You were just convenient." In that instant, the universe stopped. The pain was so sharp, so total, that it transformed into a strange calm. The financial betrayal, the lies, all of it became background noise. What echoed was the annihilation. I was not a partner, a wife, a love. I was an object, an item of convenience. The trauma wasn't the discovery in the spreadsheets. The trauma was what happened inside of me when he confirmed my worst fear, that I had no value. He expected screams, accusations, a breakdown, but he got nothing. I just sat there in silence as he left the office, slamming the door. And in that deafening silence, I made a decision. I spent the night awake, but I didn't cry anymore. I processed. I let the pain pass through me. And on the other side, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. The next morning, I didn't seek the comfort of friends or family. I sat down at the computer and searched for 5 words. Ruthless family law attorney. The first name that came up was a woman named Helena. I made an appointment for the next day. I spent the rest of the day methodically. I went to a print shop and printed every spreadsheet, every statement. I created a new email address. I opened a new bank account with the little cash I had in my wallet. Mark thought I was in shock, mourning in the guest room. And I was, mourning the naive woman I had been. I learned that revenge seeks to diminish the other, just as seeks to restore oneself. And I didn't want revenge. I wanted my life back. Dr. Helena's office was minimalist and imposing. She listened to my story for almost 2 hours without interrupting, her eyes never leaving mine. When I finished, she didn't offer me words of pity. She offered me a plan. He will feel safe in his castle of lies, she said. We will let him feel that way. The power is in your calm. The victory is in our strategy. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. At home, I was the ghost wife, silent and absent. On the outside, I was a diligent client, providing every piece of evidence Dr. Helena asked for. He had no idea what was about to happen. The resolution didn't come with a dramatic confrontation. It came with the sound of a credit card being declined. Mark called me, his voice dripping with irritation. He was at an expensive restaurant, obviously with someone else, and had been humiliated. What's wrong with the card? He demanded. I don't know what you're talking about, I replied with a calmness that surprised him. It was the last time I lied to him. The next day, the real offensive began. A process server met him at the entrance of his office building and handed him a summons. A divorce filing accompanied by a court order to freeze all assets in his name based on irrefutable evidence of marital fraud.